Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that this meeting is being recorded. This is fantastic. We're going to just give people a couple minutes to pop on here. Hello, everybody. Um, Here we are again, a little bit of a different day, same time, doesn't really matter, right? It all feels good and the same to me. I think it's fantastic. I'm super excited. Just gonna keep waiting for people to come on, but I'm so excited. We had such a good chat last time, Patrick,
We really did.
and I'm just like right on. We're gonna do this again, and we have a really fun, we decided on, I'm trying to get this to go here and Facebook. Oh, there it goes. You know, if you guys know me, anyone that knows me or has worked with me or done classes with me, all know that techie stuff is not my favorite, but I always say, this is the year I'm going to master it. So I am going to master this. Okay. Um, I'm, we have a really fun discussion today. So I'm gonna let a few more people pop on. Um, and get this on Patrick's page for him. If I can find how to do this.
Hmm.
Let's see. Hey, you guys. Okay, one more.
So while you're doing that, I will just jump in to say, like we did last time, that we are not medical practitioners, and that we are only talking about our personal experiences and sharing tools that we have used to help us through our own journey, and take what serves and leave the rest. um, Obviously everybody, I believe, has their own individual journey to live, and that's part of the fun of the experience. Realize that you are the hero of your own story. So we are in this role, informations and guides, but we are not gurus or any of that kind of thing. We're not here
Okay.
to tell you how to do your life in any
Nor,
way, shape,
nor
or
would
form.
we want to, right?
No.
You are the master of your own ship. You are the architect of your dreams and realities, right?
Right.
So,
Absolutely. And like I said, I think ultimately that's what we're moving into, is this reality where everybody gets to be the superhero of their story,
yeah.
or whatever you want to say, the angel, the ultimate version of yourself, becoming everything you dream you want to be.
I agree.
And I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful. And so a lot of us are underdogs, and that's what I would give a lot of advice right now, is that a lot of people are feeling the underdog part, where it's the part of the journey where things are really dark.
Yeah.
But in those stories, like, I know I love stories, I'm a big media guy. When it seems darkest is when the biggest breakthroughs happen and the most awesome stuff comes through. So
Just when you think you're not going to make it. That reminds me, my favorite artist ever is Brett Dennen, and he has a song, and it's about being the underdog. I'll have to post it because it's like super fun and poppy, and it's about
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm a
it's
sucker for
about
that stuff.
picking yourself up, right? It's really
Yeah.
fantastic.
And that's a major part of this journey, I found for myself anyway, is that having the tools to be your own um uplifter, to really, like, realize, okay, I'm having a rough day. For me, like, a big thing is, like, I'll watch movies, I'll listen to music, that you can find tools in your toolkit to bring yourself around. And sometimes it's just setting that intention, like, okay, I'm really downward spiraling, please help, I'm going to do whatever I can. And that's really fun. You'll start noticing, especially now in this new energy we're working with, manifestation is very quick, especially if you're working towards positive things.
Right.
And the reversal that Lisa Renee has talked about is really starting to change back the other way, the natural way, to more positive actions being supported. Negative actions are finding themselves getting kicked in the butt over and
Yep.
over and over again. And I
Yep.
see that a lot around me. And it's so funny because the negative have trained themselves to double down on their negativity, because it's always worked out eventually. If they just keep doing the bullshit will eventually work out. That doesn't work anymore. A lot of them are not realizing it, and that's what we're starting to see, I think, in the public eye, specifically with a lot of these current events, is that these people these really negative people are used to just doubling down. They do the nasty and they just keep doing the nasty and they deny it and they pretend like it's no big deal. And their negative architecture in the astral has supported that and eventually would brainwash people or dumb them down enough to let it slide. But that's gone. That means I'm sure the more this work we all collectively do, the more we dismantle all of that, the more none of that stuff works. And it's literally like you're sitting here watching these people in real time be super villains going, what? I don't know what you do. I don't know why you guys are upset. I've always gotten away with this stuff before, you know?
And they're
Um,
just not getting away with it anymore. There's just too many of it. There's too many of us here.
right.
There's too many of us that understand the secrets of humanity, the histories of our galactic um, uh, awareness. We bring too much. We bring
Right.
too much. We know too much.
And we
And
won't back down anymore.
no, there's no backing down for any of this. And so one of the really fun things that we wanted to talk about today, well, is about programming, but it's really very
Right.
specific programming, because the programming that we want to talk about and bring to light is sexual misery programming. And when I use the term sexual misery, this is actually a term, to the best of my knowledge, coined by Lisa Renee at energeticsynthesis.com. So I definitely want to give her the credit for this, because she has probably been one of the most amazing planetary scribes
Oh yeah.
for offering ascension information, how to pull uh, uh, for someone like me who's been able to see alien machinery, implants, all of this stuff. She really puts a language to that, and for someone who can't see it, she opens up a whole new world of
Yeah.
what in the world is this. And so one of the really big programs that runs in our beingness, in our bodies, is sexual misery. And I know Patrick and I want to discuss this, and we want to talk about what sacred sexuality is. And because it's something that we have long since forgotten,
Yeah.
and so people don't even know. I even understand, this is like something, it's like whether, I was just reading this, whether you're, in a single companionship, like this is like something for yourself, this is something with a partner, however you look at it, there's a level of sacredness that has been hidden from us. And it's by design, because of the power that it actually creates.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, and you figure it is the generational force that creates life itself as
yeah.
a human being, you know? So ultimately, that's what it honors. And the divine feminine, who is a portal that brings that life into our reality, our version of reality, the three-dimensional version that is now becoming the fourth and fifth dimensional, which for my benefit, and those we're talking to, fifth dimensional to me is like the mental realms and the energetic realms,
Yeah.
understanding that we're more than just the five senses, that there are other things going on, that we have imagination, we have the ability to understand the past and the future, and these things are an expanded reality that we're now dealing with. And these are the things we talk about and touch on, that there are spiritual beings that help us and harass us, there are spiritual tenets that have very real implications for our lives and how we live them, and so the major part of the awakening is that sort of stuff. Like sex isn't just for an orgasm, it's not just to go out and get your fix, which is what it has been reduced to, and really reduced. I mean, the truth of sexuality is so beautiful that the greatest romance that we've written about in the last 1,000 years can't really touch how beautiful it really, really is, and what it really does in moving energies. But as you're well aware, and Lisa Renee talks about, as you start going down those rabbit holes in her stuff, it becomes about the idea of understanding how energy is separated within us. We are brought to this planet as a male or a female. Well, a spiritual being is male and female, has all the energies. So first off, the first thing you do is you split your energy right in half when you become a male or a female, and then they take that and they pervert it more and more on this planet, because that's the game here, is to try to make things as negative as possible and make that the reality. um, so the first thing is to realize that you have both energies and access to both energies, and really be able to be like, as a man, I can feel my feelings, as a woman, you can be strong and
I
stand your
can
ground
I can
and
change my own oil.
right, exactly. You can be technical and build
Mhm.
things. You don't have to just be emotional. And so that's the heros gamos. I mean, in its most basic terms of
Right.
the personal self. Once you come into that aspect, then you get into the sexuality of the two coming together, which creates life and also creates a mass. It's like a fusion reactor, a fission reactor. It's so much spiritual energy coming together.
Yeah.
So
It's
I don't
it's really
wanna
it's very powerful. But it's also something that is not easily, you don't just decide, oh, I am now going to be, I'm not going to be in Haros Gamos. You don't just read about what it is
yeah,
and then all of a sudden you're like a completed being with a fully healed, your rod and staff. And we may get into that, or maybe we won't, but because that gets into the mechanics of the body moving on into the soul, spirit
right,
levels and beyond, but which would take a really long time. But there is a mechanics to it. And it's like you first need to be aware that I am chastity, I'm in a female body, and I am both male and female. Okay, so we have a female side, that's our left side, and a male side. These are the most basic pieces. Male is electric, female is magnetic, right? We are electromagnetic multidimensional beings. And so instead of keeping these in separate spaces in a polarity, they need to be an integration. So it's like a blended, uh, it's like Patrick said, it's okay for him to be in his male body and to have feelings, right? And you
yeah,
work on this, and then you go and it's like, it takes time to process this. It is faster when you are aware of what you're doing, but then what you can get into is sexual implants. Now, when we have partners, it goes, partners come with other partners come with other timelines of other partners, and their partners, other partners, and their other timelines of other partners.
yeah,
So it goes. And then you have the consciousness of sexuality, right? Which is like my individual consciousness, Patrick's, the planets, the worlds, women, men. And so you guys were really like, there's a lot to process, and there's a lot that's being like siphoned, but so that's like a super huge picture. But getting back into the individual self, a lot of us have been traumatized at a very young age, whether that be images of physical sexual abuse, mental abuse, these kinds of things. And there are implants in the body, and a lot of people can feel these physically. And so I've taken them out of myself, and we can talk about that as we go on. Removing them from men, birthing dead babies that aren't actually really there. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. People can have pain, even pain during intercourse with like nothing wrong with them. And generally, it means there's some type of etheric implant. Um, you can be implanted by your partner. You can be siphoned from beings, entities, and on it goes. So this is just kind of a little overview of some of the stuff that we're gonna talk about. And the main being in charge of this, they don't like me much, but we're going to be dealing with, like, some of this stuff. We'll be dealing with Moloch, Azazel, and his whole gestalt. And
hmm
these kinds of fun things. So this goes, we're going to scratch the surface, but go a little bit deep. So for those of you that, what does that mean? It means we're working in spiral time and multidimensional levels. And so there's going to be some information that you're maybe not hearing us say out loud, but there are going to be some people that are benefiting from it in another way. So, pay attention to the subtleties of, what we're chatting about.
So, if I may,
Mhm.
people are asking, well, I'm sure, what is Moloch and what is Azazel? In the most simple terms, we consider them demons. But what a demon really is an energetic being that's created to siphon energy and corrupt how energy works between us in a natural sense. Moloch is actually the name for Lord. It means Lord. And it's more of the domination and control aspects, which, I mean, when you get into sexuality, there's a whole rabbit hole of domination and control, the BDSM groups and stuff. And that's what he deals with. He deals with sexual traumas, which come from abuse and from people imbalanced. I'm rule over you and you must be lesser. And I mean, there we can go right into stuff as simple as, natural animal reality, where we say, there's a male dom and a female submissive, and that's the roles of
Mhm.
natural life, which is not true. If
Right.
you actually study the natural world, there are many different versions of that all throughout. And, reality likes to explore different roles, but ultimately they are roles that we are taking. They are not the natural way that we're supposed to do these things. And that becomes how energy is siphoned, how you get inversion templates, which, you start getting off on pain, you start feeling like, you need to be in control of people, and that's the only way you get pleasure. You get your princess and your queen, evil
Oh,
queen
yeah.
programming, which is a big one a lot of people don't realize, has been pushed on us. This idea that, we need to have, you can look on Lisa Renee's stuff, and I actually want to read something about that, about how, the king and the queen archetypes aren't as positive as a lot of people think. They're pushed to be made to think, oh, I'm in control of my power, but it's a negative form of control where you don't allow the other beings around you to naturally be themselves.
Right.
You have to decide what they do.
Mhm.
In flow, you literally do flow, and everything can be as it wants to be, and it doesn't disturb you. And so a lot of that is, as you start to come out of a lot of these control structures and systems, the Azazel demon is specifically about scapegoating, saying, I am not in power, I don't own this situation, it's something else that's doing this to me. Azazel actually is the Hebrew term for removal, which is the original scapegoating idea, came from the Hebrew practice. In ancient times, they would take a scroll, write down all of their sins, and rather than say, I did this and I feel sorry for it, and please forgive me, I'm going to amend myself, they put it on a goat and they sent it out into the forest. And
Mhm.
it was a sacrifice. And so all sacrifices are literally you. The way I look at it now is like literally giving away your power. You're literally
Exactly.
saying, that's not me, I'm not in control,
I didn't do
something
it.
else needs to be.
Mhm.
So then you now are a victim, and
Right.
in a victim mentality, you cannot fix any of your issues because they're not yours,
That's
which is
right.
a really deep lesson. And it sounds very trite, but I mean, really sitting with that understanding is very deep, and it really is hard, because then you have to go through and be like, okay, I chose this, I chose to be here, I chose to deal with these entities, I chose to deal with, you know if you want to get really nasty, the whole negative aspect of the pedophilia and all that kind of stuff. And why would we do that? One of the things I always say is, well, why do you like really violent television? Why do you like really crazy drama? Because we have been led to believe over thousands of years of generations that that's fun.
Yeah.
This roller coaster of up and down, up and down, up
Mhm.
and down energy,
Mhm.
which in a psychology terms, which is what I'm really about, is considered mania. You got mania and depression, which is really, if you're a sine wave, we want to be more calm, these little gentle hills. But mania is about up, down, the roller coaster of up and down. that create causes all of these wicked bursts of energy, but then leaves you drained and feeling lost. And at both ends of that spectrum, you can be harvested from,
Yeah.
especially if you live in the victimized mentality and you dominate and control rather than live in flow, which is
Mhm.
the universe has got my back because I am the universe and I trust it and it's there for me,
And
Uh,
that's really hard, especially with the level of indoctrination, to be able to uh, to have the faith to say, the universe has got my back, or God's got my back, or whatever, but to really know what that means, to
right.
really know what that means. And I love how you're explaining. I've not heard the story of writing it down and putting it on a goat. And
You can actually
that's
look it
like,
up on Wiki.
I'm going to
It's
now, because
fascinating.
I thought that
Yeah.
is, and
And
that's how people do it too. And
right.
that's exactly what happens. And it's most difficult. Um, all these different programs, the victimizer programming is, I think it's ingenious. It's like, hey,
Right.
they're just going to keep martyring themselves, or, they're just going to keep uh, putting it on someone else. And then we're just going to go back in and plan another one on, and then harvest again, taking
Right.
their energy, take your energy yet again. And it's just this vicious circle. It's a time loop. You just can't get out of it. It
Right.
just keeps
It's
going
like
and
the old
going.
adage of the Hatfields and the McCoys. Nobody remembers how the fighting even starts. It just perpetuates because you hurt me, I hurt you.
Yes.
And none of it ends ever
Yes.
because that's real strength. That's what we are here. Like, you want to know what your angelic duty is to stop being a Hatfield and a McCoy and say, you know what, this ends with me. I don't care what any excuse was in the past, what horrible things they did to me or are doing to me now. I am not contributing to that energy.
That's right.
And if you follow me on Facebook, you realize I do not talk about bad about anyone,
Mhm.
because stay humble. I have
Yeah.
to stay humble because I realize I'm all of it. I can't talk bad about any of the beings because they are me.
Mhm.
Not only that, those beings know how to do energetic aikido, which is they can take your energy and throw it right back at you twice as hard. Okay. So
I love that you call
when
it a
people are,
keto. That's
what is it
fantastic.
is, it's energetic aikido. That's what aikido is. It's so fascinating because it's just a way for them to play with that energy. So if you're going out putting a negative energy for any reason, and yes, they might absolutely 100% deserve it. They might be the biggest super villain in the world. Some of these beings are. When you really start getting into some of this stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, it is the worst of the worst nightmare that you could ever imagine. Super villains in comic books aren't as bad as some of the people on our planet that are incarnate right now. Some of the things they do. I mean, they wouldn't put it in any comic book. They wouldn't put it in any novel or any horror movie because
Yeah.
it's that bad. But even then, you have to have the faith in the universe that their karma, but it's not karma, it is the energy they're putting out has to come back to them. It's the Taurus field that we all are. You put energy out into the field, it comes back to you. And it's becoming more and more clean and less contrived. And you say, well, okay, how did they get away with it for so long? Because they convinced us to take that while they put it out. We took it. We said, oh, that's mine, not yours. And then you took the them. While we do this work, like Chastity and I are doing, when people are helping others clean a lot of this stuff, clearing those contracts, clearing those energetic implants, that's what those plant implants do in a lot of ways, is make it unfair. You accept karma, you accept negativity that's not yours and
Yeah.
never was yours, collectively, because of your race, because of your gender, because of the political party you're in. You accept all of that parties. That's not you. That's you're a small portion of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reprogramming how collectives work, reprogramming how we fit into collectives is, we've learned how very negative ways to collectivize and harness energy and distribute energy. And so dealing with that, you have to start being imaginative and really think, okay, well, how do we positively harvest energy, use our energy, use the energy that source gives us? And the natives had it best. You sit and you commune with natural life. You see what natural reality does. And that's how they learned about reality. They said, what does the tree do? How does the tree live? What does the the animals do, the frog and the bird and the leopard and all of these animals, how do they live and how do they keep a balance that is, give and take, where you don't over, I mean, basically hoarding, like it's a very human instinct, and it's a very negative instinct, because if you live in flow, you don't need assurances that things are going to go well. You already know they're going to, regardless of any idea of what it is actually going to happen. You don't need insurance. The universe is your insurance, that it has your back. And that is true faith. And it's a very difficult thing to get to.
It
But
is very challenging. It's very challenging, but it's very doable and
right.
100% worth it.
And it is. And that is part of the fun of playing here. And I would say that is how you come into relationship with source, because that's what source's relationship wants to be. The universe's relationship with you wants to be. It wants to show you this, that I got your back. I am your friend. I am you. I want you to have fun here. I want you to enjoy this life. And if you start working with it, say, okay, show me how you've got my back. You will start to see. That's why I have a lot of faith in my reality field, because I've spent years and years and years of my life actually going out and living and doing it, taking leaps of faith, doing things that people are like, that's crazy, that's never going to work out. And I'm like, the universe has got my back. And then it works out and I go, wow, you're amazing. And I'm like, nope, the universe has got my back.
This is how it
Like, it's
works.
very
Yeah.
straightforward.
Yep.
But
And when we show up and do the work, and just knowing and understanding some of the language, what needs to be done, what do I need to start paying attention to in my life, and instead of looking outside for all these other little things, all these other people, all this stuff, looking outside, and never looking inside.
yeah,
It's not, you're not going to be very advancing very quickly when you are refusing to see how to move in, that moving through the inside is how things express and manifest on the outside. So
right. And I would say, when you have, for me personally, when I have negative experiences now, for me, it's an indicator of, okay, here's something I need to work on. There's a hole, there's a siphoning,
yeah.
whatever. And for me, it's kind of an adventure. It's like, all right, I can sit with myself and go, okay, what am I making? Did I have some childhood trauma I haven't gotten to yet? Is there a relationship that I'm maintaining that isn't as healthy as it should be? And as you get deeper into it, you start making what seem like more and more radical choices. You might say, you know what? Yeah, this person that I've been friends with for 30 years, and this is a personal experience I'm going through right now,
Mhm.
is not healthy for me. And I've been friends with them for 30 years, you know what I mean? And like real deep, true friends. But at the end of the day, they're not doing the work, and they're never going to do the work. Not until I have the courage to put my foot down and say, you know what? I'm not coming back to hang out with you and just be buddy buddy, and let you be you and me be me, because we're tied together after 30 years of energetically
Mhm.
being friends and co-mingling and all that stuff. Your energy affects me,
Yeah.
your life affects me. And if I continue to entangle myself with that, I am choosing to be allow myself to be something, to have holes in my energy field.
Yeah.
And and again, there's where the faith comes in. The universe saying, okay, I've cut this person off, there's a better person coming in. There are better relationships that the universe
That's
is
so
now
hard,
getting
Patrick.
to provide me with.
I know, going through that. I mean, oh, my heart feels for you. Like, I know, like, definitely myself have gone through that. Like, how about, I've even found myself negotiating with myself, like, okay, where can I, where can I bend a little bit just to make it so, you know, um, I can be supportive, or that this is going to work, or that it's not going to hurt my heart. And no matter which way you go, it's like your heart is still hurting. And it's like, I can't watch you do this to yourself anymore. Or I don't know if you have experienced this as well, but I have friends that get used as dark portals, for entities to get to me,
Yeah.
like,
Oh
haha,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
you're not going to follow us, you're not going to do what we want you to do, then I'll show you that I can hurt people. I'm like, I know you can hurt people, right? Like, I've been told, they're going to come through my kids, they're going to get this, that, and I'm like, bring it, because it's going to be overridden at some point anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not
Yeah.
hurting, but there are times you just have to walk away, because, if the person was doing their work, they wouldn't have things working through them. They wouldn't be,
Right.
dark portals, and it would be cohesive and mutual loving. So
Right. And to get back to the sacred sexuality, it works for friends, it works for partners. The
yeah,
partners are even deeper, but at the same time, if they actually were your partner, if they actually were your friend, they would be as interested in this stuff as you are,
yeah,
and they would want to do this work. If they're not really your friend, they're not really your partner away from this, to siphon your energy, to keep you off base from your ultimate spiritual goal. And that's a deep thing too for a lot of people. I've had to sit down with this many times and be like, is that really what I want? Do I want to be this ultimately spiritual being? Many people just want to play in
yeah,
physical reality. And a lot of people, you'll have to sit down and really get to the base of that and be like, am I here to ascend? Am I here to be a very deep spiritual being? Or am I just here to play? Am I just having fun? Am I messing around? And I'll tell you, there's nothing ultimately wrong with that. Everybody will eventually get to that point. It might be thousands of lifetimes from now in this 3D perspective. There is no actual time. So, it's all really relatively meaningless. But at the same point, if you're sitting there and the end of the day, sitting down going, wow, most of my day was negative and I had some really dark situations,
hmm,
then you really have to be like, well, I need to move some stuff around, or sit with that and be like, I guess this is the level that I'm comfortable playing with,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
stop projecting it as a victim. Again, that's getting out of the victimizer victim mentality of being like, I chose this. And that's hard. That's wicked, wicked hard. And anyone doing that work, I bow to you, kudos, because
hmm,
that is mastery. That is self mastery. You're
yeah,
owning your reality. Um, and that is the whole sexuality problem for us in a nutshell, because these roles we've been on the basic level, right? The men do the work, the women do all the emotional stuff, they raise the kids. We are now seeing that that is being attacked. Um, and I have no issues with gender roles one way or the other if everything is fairly balanced.
sure,
But at the same time, somebody needs to do some work. Somebody needs to raise the kids. I don't care if it's men or women. I don't care if it's women and women. I don't care if it's men and men. I don't care if it's transgender and transgender, whatever, that's a whole other thing, the sexual confusion aspects and the templates that go on with that, just to keep, because ultimately the easiest way to point to that, like people are like, well, what's negative about it? Because it keeps you out of being positive. It keeps you thinking constantly about things that have nothing to do with love and happiness and joy. You're spinning in, well, what sex am I? What does that mean? What are people calling me? How mad am I about that? Like anything that constantly is generating negative emotion, for me, from my perspective, you're being siphoned. Anytime you're
yeah,
creating negative emotion,
yeah,
truly positive reality creates no negative emotion. You don't make it.
hmm,
Negative emotion is a form of exhaust. You might as well be one of those diesel trucks with the big giant pipes going making black diesel smoke,
exactly,
because the more you're sitting there
exactly,
being angry, negative,
hmm,
destructive, being depressed, anxiety, you're creating this exhaust that they're eating. They're going, delicious. And
hmm.
personally, I can't stand that. And that
It,
motivates me,
it,
like
it
knowing
does,
that.
it does. And well, and I can see it. Like I see those little things like feeding off of it, and it just grosses me out. And I'm just like,
Right.
oh, I can't deal. But so that in itself motivates me enough to, and it's without judgment. There's no
Right.
judgment. It's just discernment. Like I know that this is not going to be for my highest good,
Right.
and I definitely don't want to be siphoned from, and
No.
I just teach people how to build their architecture and understand what this is about and why are our sexual energies harvested on this planet? This is a big question. And it's a really important one because it makes the world go round. It keeps the facade up. It's all about black magic. It's all about the controller groups. And, they're falling apart because we're becoming aware of this. We're taking our sexuality back. I think that they've ruined it and damned it enough and created the separation with, their base structures, and then created brilliantly, like maniacal little scientists, they think they are. All these little programs and sub programs. I don't know, is that a program in the program? Boy, they've got them, and they've got
Oh yeah.
that you pop open. It's like you pop open one file and then a virus is created over here, then another file pops up, and it's like, you got to get this out of your body. You got to
Right.
get it out of your body. So, okay, what did you want to read, Patrick?
Okay. Actually, that works really well. So this is actually off Lisa Renee's Ascension Glossary, and it's under the Healing Destructive Archetypes, which is exactly what we're talking about. This is under the Princess Coding,
Oh,
but this is a general thing.
mhm.
Once it is realized that all relationships are about spiritual growth through applied life lessons, you can participate with that comprehension in order to easily graduate to the next level. Applying non-attachment and unconditional forgiveness in your relationships will allow you to skip the harder, more painful lessons. Eventually, though, your balanced self-mastery you'll have to access to create the most loving spiritual marriage you ever could imagine. However, we have been manipulated and lied to about our sovereign right to experience a balanced, loving, and glorious sacred marriage. We have been filled with shame and guilt from painful distortions promoted from the reptilian control and the patriarchal domination. We have to overcome our emotional pain and our memory of inner spirit crucifixion to be resurrected into the light of truth. To become whole again, we need to learn and remember our sovereign right to access inner and outer hieros gamos. This year, we have this possibility and will continue to grow stronger as more of us wake up and remember to live our divine purpose and love again. And I
Oh,
think that perfectly kind of puts a cap on exactly what we're saying in all this,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Take responsibility. And I'm thinking about this like princess coding, because I've seen this in a lot. It's in men and women, right? But I see it as it like comes into women's bodies and in their mind and how they are. It's like, a man is supposed to treat me like this, and this is how you're going to be, and you're not hearing me. I have my boundaries and you're pushing them. It becomes this like entitlement, and it's like a false sense of, I'm healing myself, right? This is what I see princess coding like demand this. It's like in some kind of fake sovereignty, there are all of these demands. And then even if like your partner was trying, whether your partner's man or woman, your man or woman is not relevant, right? It's
Right,
like your partner, it's a never win situation.
right,
So not only are you not being authentic to your own architecture, and your own architecture is Haros Gamos. This is what we create. This is how we travel. This is how we love. This is how we remember
right.
our inner light. Um,
And the partnership is about choosing to love the aspects of ourselves that we chose not to be in this life.
yeah,
So if you're constantly seeing those aspects of yourself as negative, you're really admitting that you have work to do.
yeah,
And that's the true mastery, the really, you know, painful thing. It becomes this whole thing of like, well, if I'm seeing partners as negative, what I'm really doing is reflecting aspects of myself that
mhm,
I realize are need work.
yeah,
And there should be no shame in this. Like, don't have shame about it, because again, like you're talking about the programming, there are inner voices that are not our voices, and they will come in and through shame, through anxiety and all these things, and they'll pretend they're you, and they'll be like, wow, you should really feel bad about that, you're beating your
mhm,
partner up, and just send you into a downward spiral. for me, again, I have to realize, and I really do like say, okay, that's not my voice. That
Yeah.
is a negative entity trying to set me in a spiral.
Yeah.
And again, then you're like, okay, where am I not shielding? Where have I not done revocations? Where have I not done energy work in my field? And all of these things that we constantly share about shielding, about, smudging, about, um, having people, spiritual healers, do Reiki on you and all that kind of stuff is really important.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a constant give and take. You're gonna find as you do this that it's like you're gonna find layer after layer after layer of this stuff. I think another big thing is some people get to this point where they think they're like, okay, I'm healed, I'm done, I'm just going to choose it because I am the God self. Well, yes, ultimately we are the God self, but here we're to be in this body to learn to reach that point, and being truthful to yourself. That's where I have a lot of problems with partners. People are like, well, why are you so picky? I'm picky because I'm picky with myself, because I'm like, okay, here's where I'm being shitty with myself. And a lot of people used to getting away with those kind of mentalities, like, well, it's not a big deal. People do that. If you're really doing this work, no, they don't. You don't do that. You can't allow yourself to do that.
Yeah.
And working in this energy, if you're saying, okay, I'm on an ascended timeline, I'm working towards being Heros Gamos, I'm working towards being angelic, it's going to be like touching an electric fence. It's going to be like you're shocking yourself every time now that you start doing this stuff. They're going to be like, all right, you're not playing. It's okay. You're going to get the jolt. You're going to have the really nasty experience when you start doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to see if you really mean it, if you're willing to step back from that stuff now. What it's saying, a lot of the newer sensing glossary stuff is that's exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be because the negative to set up the negative sexual conditioning, because it literally is shocking, torture, all these weird sort of sexual practices are negative Pavlovian conditioning about using pain to invert how you see your reality. And instead of choosing love and happiness, you choose torture and pain and really messed up situations. And
Yeah.
the energy around us is not supporting that at all anymore.
Would
And if
you?
you can't see that consciously, it's going to be brought into your awareness more and more.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
is
We like the ascended timeline does not. There is no polarity, and there is no like it is 100% union. You're not going to see a reverse pain pleasure. You're not going to, wanting to be pleasure is not pain. It's
yeah.
like it's beyond me but it's not beyond me because I've actually been in those reversals, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so like I totally 100% completely understand it, and that was conditioning for me from being when I was younger. When you're a child that's being molested or
Yeah.
raped, the pain is like beyond
Right.
comprehension. So you
And
you have to go somewhere, and you have to figure
right.
out how to deal with that. That being said, I hear people all the time say that it's not human, right? It's not in our natural behaviors to have one partner, that we're polyamorous. What are your thoughts on that? Because I have my own thoughts.
So, okay, ultimately, we're spiritual beings. And
Mhm,
on a spiritual level, we're just energy.
mhm,
This is really hard for people. I've had the understanding that, like, when we're souls, you blend, you literally merge with beings and you take some of that energy with you. It's like, um, I'm trying to find a way to describe this very simple, because well, right now my head's going, well, okay, it's like neural pathway. Our personality is a bunch of neurons in our mind that are lit up with electricity. And those change depending on who you're around. When you're your mom self, there's a bunch of neural pathways, little galaxies in your mind, little constellations lit up that are different than when you're a wife or you're a friend or you're a daughter.
yeah.
All of those are still us. Um, which means that we constantly are shifting around who we are,
Mhm.
and collectively we shift. And now that we have the internet, we pull bits of everyone we come in contact with into us in take on those mannerisms. Sometimes it might be saying a catchphrase that they say or something, or having a mannerism that they do. But it's a layer of getting there. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just jump to that. And we're collectively not there. We have to heal all this other trauma. And I feel like that's really important. It's like, okay, yes, eventually we might become a polyamorous group. But to do that, we have to understand intimate love between two people. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to ride a motorcycle and you've never even ridden a tricycle before. You know what I mean? Like, you
Mhm.
can get there, absolutely, but collectively we're not there. And it takes a lot of work. And when you're just running around having sex with a bunch of people, like you said, you're having sex with all of the energy that they're tied to. So you're, I mean, yes, you can be a very powerful person. You can shield, you can do cleansing work, and yeah, you can do have all these random interactions with all these different people and have sex with all of them, but it's going to be a lot of work. And at the end of the day, natural reality is very simple. It's very go with the flow. And if you're finding yourself having to do all this work, it's probably not natural. You know what I mean? Like, it's not,
It should
if you're like, okay, just had sex,
be.
I had an orgy with 20 people, and now I have to clear 20 people's worth of negative energy that's tied to me, all their timelines, all this. Sure, you can go do it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I don't feel like it's going to be very healthy for you. It's going to be very fulfilling in the way that you think it is. And you really might have to sit and go, like, am I really enjoying this for a natural, healthy thing? Or
Right.
is it because I really like feeding off of their sexual joy, their bursts of orgasm? Like, when you start really looking at energy and can see it, for me, I'm an empath, so I feel it, you know,
Yeah.
and that's hard because I am a male, but I have a very female soul. So a lot of women get turned off by that because I can vibe with a woman's emotional state very quickly. And they're like, what are you, a woman? Like, I promise you, I can chop wood, I can build a house, like, you know, I can carry heavy stuff, but I can cry with you over an emotional scene in a Disney movie just as easily.
Mhm.
And that comes from being in my feminine energy. And it's taken years of work and, you know, stuff like that. And I think that sexuality, it's very easy to vamp energy. We have been taught how to do it subconsciously. We don't even know we're doing it most of the time. That
Yeah.
because it's just a smorgasbord, it's a buffet, you know. So if you're going around having sex with a lot of partners, is it really because you care about healing their energy and having you know, an energetic relationship with that many partners, or is it because you're getting off on something, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't answer that, and you can't answer that. That, you know, every individual has to have that uh, you know, little powwow with themselves, really.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
What do you
honestly,
feel what are your thoughts on, thank you for that. What are your thoughts on, when I think about, watching stuff online like pornography or something like that, like I feel like the sexual energies not only harm humanity, but somehow they get uploaded into the AI constructs. So, which is a whole nother level of siphoning. What are your thoughts on pornography?
so okay, that's an interesting topic because humanity, as we're ascending, right, we're trying to create a timeline that has never been. Um, and an interesting thing that I'm going to drop on you right now, and people can take it or leave it. This is going to be a big bomb. Much of our media, our fiction, or comic books, whether it be fantasy, whether it be science fiction, those are timelines we've already lived. This reality has been in a repeating, like a record that's skipping. And there have been realities where we're heroes. There have been realities where we, you know, had to deal with, you know, archonic, uh, negative demonic entities and all that kind of stuff. And we see them in our media. We are getting to a point where we're having to deal with the AI construct as robots. And we've already seen it in our media, things like Terminator, The Matrix, Altered Carbon, you know, Mass Effect, the video game. It's everywhere. The idea that this completely intellectually driven artificial intelligence that has no emotional soul, no heart, no connection to life, um, takes over. We give it too much power. We start, you know, giving our power away to it, having it take care of us and do all of our chores and do all this stuff. And at first it seems really nice, and then they decide, well, you're not a logical race. you need to be wiped out because logic is the only thing that matters. And it's all kinds of media. To get back to what you asked about, we're feeding into that psychically with the pornography, with the internet interactions. So again, I have very rarely seen pornography that is healthy. Like, I'll just be 100% honest. Can you clean that? Yes. Like, some people can sit down with it and actually see the programming and be like, I'm cleaning this. But that's a whole other level thing. That's not even really being erotic then. It's more like you're trying to filter some of it out. But even that can be a level of, you gaming yourself or them tricking you. It's not connected to any person. You know what I mean? It's just a screen. There's no other energy of the other person there, and then that's what it is. You're saying, okay, if you're not deciding how your orgasm is being used, I promise you it's been decided for you.
Oh,
And
it's
in almost
definitely
every
been
case where
decided.
you're not saying, okay, I'm giving this orgasm up to the greater good, they're taking it. If you're just like, well, I'm just going to have a good time and I'm going to have these crazy orgasms, that energy is being siphoned 100%, because that's what these beings do. They sit down and I try to tell people, it's like, imagine they're starving. Okay. And if you are in a starving mentality, you're going to, like, it's just like a heroin addict. They're going to do whatever they can to get that fix, because they live off of it. So they're going to game and game and game and game, and they're never going to say uncle. They're never going to quit. They're always going to be finding new ways to get to that energy. So as smart as you think you are, I promise you, you're not as driven as them. I've never met anyone who's that driven, because you're not in that mentality where you need it. Like a heroin. Think about how heroin junkies are. Heroin junkies, is as terrible as it is, they are really good at getting heroin. If you've ever met a heroin junkie, they can do anything and will do anything. And these beings are smart heroin junkies. You know what I mean? These are generational beings, and AI is the same way. So they're just taking and taking and taking your energy. So if you can be comfortable with that, I don't know how, and still think that you're ascending. It's a hard thing. What I do, and a lot of people will ask, well, what do you do? I mean, you can quit cold turkey. Sometimes it's about being like, well, okay, I know I'm doing this and I know I'm being siphoned, and maybe like weaning yourself off it, being like, okay, I'm going to find stuff that's more about pleasure of the couple and not about domination. And a lot of subtle things. Like one of the things I was thinking about, that you'll never see me ever wear anything around my neck. I don't care if it's a tie, a collar. I don't care if it's like one of those cool little, like, women specifically will wear those little, I mean, just anything around your neck is a collar. Like, any of that is collar harvesting programming, and it's slave programming. In fact, the necktie goes back to the noose around your neck. That's even darker stuff. I'll never wear a tie, a bow tie, or any of that kind of stuff. That all goes into slave and reversal programming too. But that's what I'm saying. So many of these things that seem so innocent and so very basic are all programming and energy siphoning. So you can't, if you get to a certain level of awareness, you just can't play with those things anymore. You have to start putting them away, because again, you're going to get shocked. You're going to be like, wow, why did this, for me? Okay, here's a really fun thing. If I start screwing up, one of the things that'll start happening is I'll start getting things like those really annoying people that aren't really people. They're bots that are trying to get information from you, trying to pretend to be your girlfriend or whatever. They'll start showing up on my wall, and they'll start inviting me as friends, and I'll be like, okay, why are there all these showing up? It's because of that, because in my energy field, I'm allowing myself to get parasited. And it can be all kinds of things. Maybe your cat gets worms, maybe, anything parasite. A big thing now is fleas and ticks. You see, and I know in New England, ticks are horrible, but that's what it is. We are literally seeing parasites in the 3D hologram, because in the astral hologram, they're everywhere. So it's like, we were trying to warn us, like, you're seeing all these ticks because you're letting yourself be astrally siphoned off of. And that's another fun way to really work with the universe. I mean, it will show you things.
I love that you say that, because people, that are being harvested in the astral, which, as far as I'm concerned, is also, in the AI, people who are watching pornography as well, right? So this goes into that. It's really fascinating because I never thought of that as showing up, manifesting as parasites, as but it makes like I'm getting really excited about this because it's making perfect sense to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to whatever we're bringing, we're manifesting, and it's happening faster, 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 right? So yeah, wow, that's really crazy. Also, you know what, our sexual energy, I mean, there's just so much we can talk about. We're really just kind of like
Yeah.
breaking it open. This is just
Right.
about breaking it open. We're not even diving deep here. This is like, hey, let's start to think of these concepts. Let's just start to go, what does
Right.
this look like? We're not you know, we're not going deep here. So this is really easy level basic stuff. But uh oh shoot, what was I going to say? Sometimes this happens to my mind because my thoughts go so fast.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about let's see, we're on the AI topic, the astral moving through here. It'll come back to me when it's supposed to. If I focus on it too much, it'll really disappear. But one of the things, oh, ley lines. This is one of the
Mhm.
things I wanted to like kind of like, speaking of you dropping bombs, I want people to understand that we can, like, with our orgasmic energy, we're in control of that. And it is powerful. It
Right.
is powerful. You can actually you can clear an entire blueprint if you set your mind to it. You can
Right.
clear ley lines, you can clear the land. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with your power because um, our construct is like, this is why they take it. The movie Monsters Inc.
Yes.
They run off of fear because fear runs the power plant. Those are the Moloch tanks, right?
Right.
They get the
Exactly.
fear.
Yeah. A
They
perfect
literally get the
example.
fear from the people, and then it runs their cities, right? And so
Right.
then what they find out at the end of the movie is love, laughter is
Right.
way more powerful and like blows things up. Like there's so much
Right.
power surging, and it's like that's what like a human orgasm can do.
Oh
And when
yeah.
you're in Haros Gamos with yourself, and then you have a partner who's in Haros Gamos, and the two of you come together,
Oh yeah.
pretty sure
Absolutely.
that I'm pretty sure like it would be like National Lampoon's European Vacation when his house lights up and then everything else turns out.
Right. Yeah, it's like a nuclear reactor, like I'm saying, it's like fission, and it's
Yeah,
it's it's like a nuclear bomb. It's so big, it's so powerful. It's almost like you don't know how to use that much energy,
yeah,
or again, it terrifies them because then that's it. You're
yeah,
talking about using a nuclear bomb's worth of energy on the grid to clear out structures, to clear
yeah,
out programming, to clear
yep,
out, and people are like, well, I don't know what to do, for the my surroundings. It doesn't even have to be that. You've got all of the DNA of every ancestry related to all of that negative trauma, and whether you know about your ancestry's history or not, you can be assured that they've been through every level of torture and pain.
yeah,
And so you can send that energy through those timelines into your own
yes,
DNA. You
yes,
can go into your own past as a child. um, a big one, and I think I mentioned this last time we talked, the first 7 years that you're alive, you're basically in a hypnagogic state. You might as well have been hypnotized by somebody and constantly in taking in programming.
hmm,
So if that is a really important place to send positive energy and heal,
yes,
because if you think, I mean, and I've done this a lot. If you really want to heal, if you really want to get on to like, why am I being held back? Why am I not developing powers? Or any of this kind of stuff. Almost always it's going to be those first 7 years.
yeah,
There's all kinds of things in there. TV you watch, stuff that you might not think is that traumatizing now was horribly traumatizing as a kid. And it takes that level of going back as, your 6-year-old self and being like, wow, I watched mom and dad fight. Like they had a knockdown drag out. Maybe it wasn't common even for you. Like for me, my parents were pretty loving, but every once in a while, they're human. They had those fights. And for me going back and being like, okay, you know, that child didn't understand, I can go back and send energy and love to him from now. And it helps then. That's what we mean when we say there is no time. You can be your own guardian angel from your future timeline, which is now, to your 7-year-old, to your
Yep.
6-year-old.
Yep.
Women have even more power because you have your womb. You can go into your own womb.
Oh, yeah.
That is amazing generator of natural loving energy. And being able to spend time in your womb as a fetus, and that complete, just getting into that headspace and that energy of being loved, being cared for, being mothered, truly mothered, supported 100%, is wicked regenerative.
Yeah, it is. It's
and
powerful. And I say I did the most powerful healing myself during my pregnancies. Like, this is when the most traumas would come up, these kinds of things, to be able to do that level of healing and then heal my child, during that time for the timelines, because we're sharing DNA, we're sharing, all of those
right.
things. Sharon's asking a question and she says, I know this is crazy. Trust me, it's not going to be crazy. But what about the energy? What about the energy from masturbation? And it's the same thing. This is like whether you have a partner or you're with yourself. That energy is extremely powerful. What's interesting? I love Merkabas, right? We're made of energy pieces. I freaking love the Merkaba, 4-sided minimum, not the 3-sided Merkaba. So I do a 4-sided or 6-sided. You can actually harness your own, and I would suggest doing this. Harness your own orgasm and put it in a Merkaba and send it to a specific time in your life, or send it through to clear the land somewhere. Or there's I know that you think that question's crazy. How's this crazy answer for you? Because like, that is a burst of energy that can be used to heal. And it's strange to say that because we're taught to be shamed. But again, when we go into who and what is running and controlling our planet, and that SRA, otherwise known as satanic ritual abuse, why is this happening to our children? Well, because those energies are extremely powerful. They open stargates. They do crazy things. That's crazy
And
things.
the more you're connected to source, the more power you bring through, because you have direct access, which is why children are, innocence itself is innocence. Innocence is connection to source. And children act as if they are directly influenced by source, because they are. Other fun things you can do with your masturbation, like I was talking about, maybe you had past sexual relations you feel really guilty about, or know that there was abuse in them. You can send it there. You can also send it to your future. If you're an energy worker, like Cassidy is a healer, you do Reiki work and massage, you can send it to yourself to a future session. You can say, I'm going to donate this energy to a future session, and then I have my own. I mean, you can literally think of it as an energy tank, like I'm going to give myself a future energy tank to pull that energy out of and use, and and that's the fun thing about getting to this state, is that you start realizing I have all these places where I can play with a lot of energy. One of the things that I do is, we all have degrees of separation from people, and we have energetic influence on all of those degrees of separation. What I mean by that is, I've worked in factories over my life. I've worked in cheese factories, I've worked in chocolate factories, I've worked in baby formula factories. My energy is connected to all of those products that I have made, and still is, because again, there is no time. So I'm still there. You can take that energy and put it into that and heal all of the people that are affected by all of that work that you put in. So I can heal all the people connected to the cheese, all the people connected to the chocolate, all the people connected to the baby formula. I can heal all the people of the foundations I made. I can heal all the people of the furniture that I've delivered to houses and stuff. It becomes this fun game where you're like, how creative can I be about what I do with this energy? Maybe that would be a fun little homework assignment for people. It's like, next time you masturbate, be like, I'm going to take this energy and I'm going to send it to something that I want to help, that I'm really worried about, maybe something you're just stewing about. You're like, oh my God, this is horrible. maybe it's the current events going on. We're not going to say the name of that which must not be named, but everyone knows.
Sure.
Send it to that, send
Yeah.
it to, like, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have cleared a whole bunch of timelines, and I'm going to wake up on a new timeline where these guys are going to court. People are seeing it now. I'm going to send it to people who are not awake. I'm going to wake them up.
Yeah. Mhm.
Your imagination is literally the limit of this stuff, really.
Yeah.
And if you're mindfully doing that is you, like, really in your power, like, what is in your power? That is in your power, saying, I'm going to create with this energy and I'm going to use it to heal things that I care about.
Yeah.
Pure and
Yeah.
simple.
And this is about being prepared to, like, it's eh, I don't know how to explain this, but make sure there aren't attachments on you, right? Make sure you're clear. You understand what you're made of. Understand that that the power that you have. Understand that there may be blockages in the way your energy comes out too. Like I said, we have programs. I've actually had to. Uh, I've done, Lisa Renee has, and you can go to her website and probably find this. It would be a nominal fee, very, very, very affordable. Um, she has a, she has a meditation called Descending Serpent Fire. And this is really fascinating because we're being drained sexually, it's like a reverse kundalini essentially, and then there's programs like all kinds of, you wouldn't even believe it. People wouldn't even believe what I see or what I pull out of people. But if you can get those out, then you're even more powerful, because nothing is like being contacted or clicked on, you know what I mean? It's not like being siphoned from. So it's not being like bells going off saying, oh, guess what Sharon's doing today, right?
Right.
I just being very, very mindful and understanding your shielding, you don't have to shield a specific way. There are ways that are really good. You want to, at least protect yourself through 15D. Hopefully that knocks the Borga out. I don't know, Patrick. I'm getting concerned about this, but I think.
Well, it is an issue, and it's one that a lot of very are, what do you want to say, aliens, interdimensional beings of higher levels have had to deal with. I mean, all you got to do, like I said, right now I'm watching Stargate, and in Stargate it comes out as the replicators, but it's the same thing. What it is this intellect without any heart connection, and same thing as demons. Demons are your lower chakras without any heart connection. Anything that is without heart connection becomes polluted and eventually goes anti-life. And there's just no way around that. If it is not connected to heart, it has no empathy. It has no, doesn't see life as sacred. It eventually is going to go awry. There's just no way around it. And that is the real problem with AI. That is the real problem with technology. That's the real problem with biology and Frankenstein stuff and all that kind of stuff. It's not connected to life, and understanding that if you're really in life and you're really working with this stuff, you don't need any of that stuff. That stuff is against what the universe is already doing, and the universe is doing it way better, way easier, and way more advanced than any of that stuff. Like, that stuff is like taking apart something that works really well and just using a few pieces and then trashing the rest. I mean, that's literally what we do. And you do that with biology. If you're talking about, like, gene splicing, like we're talking about with the injections, right? It's already, our body is built. If you literally believe that source built you to be a perfect being, your body already has the ability to deal with everything in this reality already. If you need humans to come up with this way that they take pieces of other stuff, put it together, and then inject you with it to replace that, you don't believe in the natural order. You're saying, I don't believe in it. I don't believe that life can work out without intellect, without biology messing around. But that is not source connected. It's not life connected. So I've kind of wandered off, but
No, it's okay. That's okay. Cindy is, and I think we're coming up on time here. I think we're probably over time, but
Yeah, no,
Cindy
we're a
says,
little over.
she says, love the new look, Patrick. I know you guys probably thought I was sitting with somebody else. I love it too. How fun.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's just summertime and it's a lot less hot. And if you like the beer, don't worry, it'll be back in a few
Yeah,
months.
I know that's what he was
It grows
saying. It
out very
grows so
quickly.
fast, but
Oh
so
yeah,
that'll be fun for us to watch and see how it grows. But wow, like, yeah, like I said, this is just scratching the surface. We can go so much deeper and detailed
right,
because there are, programs within programs. And, one of the first things is really just, like we said, be in charge of you, right? And that's what all this comes down to. And, you know, realizing, I think the first thing is that you're not just this person. I'm not just this mom. And, I'm not just this person that, does whatever, works at the factory or goes and does this or washes dogs, like whatever. No, you're beyond that. You're much more than that. You're
right,
a multidimensional electromagnetic being, and you are extremely powerful. And we're architects, and I came in here as a master builder. My birthday's on a 22. I came in here to heal and integrate polarity and to show people how to do this, how to build and regenerate their blueprint. What is the angelic blueprint, and how do we do that? And
right,
it's about bringing awareness into what we've been up against, what we've been enslaved as, and how that happened, and how to dismantle that, and then rebuild from that,
right,
right?
right. In
So,
a base loving way that
yeah.
works with life rather than against it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No more of these like anti-human or anti-Christ ways, right? So,
Right.
and you're way nicer than me, Patrick, because like I still sometimes you'll see me say, "Oh my," like sometimes I just can't deal. I have to step away because,
Yeah. Well, and
oh,
that's the thing. I've built a life where I'm not as socially connected as a lot of people, and I've
mhm.
had to. I kind of live the life of a monk and have for a long time. So in a way, it's easier that way because I really only deal with people on social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and again, when you're truly on this path, it gets to a point where you can't play in those energies. You will get shocked, like you're touching an electric fence, and you'll know you'll events that are
Yeah. It's not
what it
worth it.
is I know you and happening, and then you have to sit and you have to meditate and you have to go, yeah.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
But it becomes much more noticeable now and much more easier to discern
Mhm. Yeah.
why these things are happening. It's not so convoluted anymore. It's very direct,
Yeah.
which is nice.
I agree. I agree. Hmm. All right. So I don't know, maybe another time we'll talk about we didn't get into consecrating land and like consecrating our
Oh
genitals
yeah,
and stuff like that, but that's okay, I mean, where are we going to go, right? We can always meet up another time and do this
sure,
whenever. So
absolutely.
I'm loving it. And
Yeah, me too.
yeah, start focusing on your genitalia. Let's just start with that, and we can always move into, I like working in the moment, right? So
Hmm.
whatever comes up, and however this gets streamed in is going to happen organically. But consecrate your genitalia basically to God. It's a really simple thing to do. You can go to Lisa Renee's Ascension Glossary. She has a
Right.
whole thing mapped out. You don't have to make up your own thing, and it's
No.
actually it's actually really beautiful. And it's very beautiful, and it's very powerful. And what do you want? What do you want your body to do? How do you want your body to feel? Where are your intentions? What kind of connections do you want to make with people, with friends, with family, with your partners? Like, understand that, a Haros Gamos is like, again, it's not always about sexuality, right? But it's that inner marriage. And we just happen to be seeing a lot of traumatization, a lot of trauma with sexuality, and that's because we're taking back control, and they're not getting their little food fed. We're calling out child trafficking.
Mhm.
We're calling out, what runs their programs, and we're taking our power back. So you might as well take your power of masturbation back too, right?
Right. Absolutely. And like you said, I would really suggest going into her glossary. I mean, I was just doing that today because something she's always adding stuff.
Yeah.
Like even if you think you know Lisa Renee, she is constantly adding stuff to the glossary. Um, go down the rabbit hole. I guarantee you want to start working with the universe, you want to start working with your guides, you'll find 2 hours have gone by and suddenly you've read 6 or 7 invocations, you through all these different terms and different, things we were talking about, like the Moloch demons and the Azazel demons and all that sort of stuff and what that means in her terms. And like I said, Lisa is very deep. So I mean, you're like you said, she's talking 15, 18 levels of awareness, so
Yeah.
whatever level you're at the time, it'll reach and then bore into your subconscious, and then maybe a year later you'll come back and see a whole different level of the same stuff you read, and that's kind
Exactly.
of the fun of this too,
Yeah.
is that you don't get too caught up in, oh, I'm not where Pat and Chastity are right now. I don't see all this stuff. It-
That's
that's your
okay.
journey. That's the
Yeah.
fun you have to look forward to in your own way, and that's the other thing. It's not going to be like us.
Mhm.
You're not going to have these same experiences. You're going to have your own experiences that are unique to what works for you, and it's going to
Yeah.
be, like I might be the Flash and it works really good for me to run really fast, but
Mhm.
Superman gets the job done, so does Batman. Whatever, and we all have that, like Chastity and I were talking, she's more medically orientated and I'm more psychology orientated, but both of us get there,
Yeah.
and that's part of
Yeah.
the fun.
Yeah. And what's really fun is, we trigger each other's memories and we can share and exchange those memories. So, like, by being in Patrick's presence, it's easy for me then to like feel into the situation and the sensations, and be able to see we all have access to the same records, right? And
Right.
so, he's able to bring something to the table and we go, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And
Right.
then all of the information will start coming in. It's really fun.
And
Uh,
that's
it's so fun to
it
learn.
is.
It's like unbelievable to me. I get so jazzed. And yeah, Lisa puts it in terms, and I did an interview with a few gals on it about the Megiddo battle. Look that up in the Ascension glossary, because we are all each individually going through our own Megiddo battle. And yeah, I spoke on that with these women. It's on the YouTube somewhere. But it's it's so crazy, and once we understand what we're up against, and we look at it, and we look at it exactly for what it is. Sometimes just that alone will dissolve so much trauma,
Oh, yeah.
right? And just because you know what it is, and it's just that simple. So
Right. And you might not think about something we said right now, and 6 months from now, you might come into something and be like, "Oh my God, Chastity talked about that," and then suddenly you pull that tool out and you get to use it. Like, oh, they said if you do that and with this, and then you're doing the work, you're doing heroic work, just by doing that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Which it's like we're activating each other's superpower, finding each other of who we really are.
yeah,
So we are these amazing, powerful beings that
yeah,
can
yeah.
completely change timelines just by wanting it to happen,
Oh,
by having a loving orgasm with ourselves,
yeah.
um,
And don't let
and
anybody
accepting
take
that.
it from you. Don't let anybody take it from you.
Right.
That's the thing. Do not allow people to take.
Right. That, yeah, and that is a hard lesson that a lot of people will go through, is accepting it, accepting you are this powerful. And it's a double-edged sword, because that means you can create a lot of negativity at this level too, and that
Yeah.
with great power comes great responsibility. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, but
I
it's
love
very
Spider-Man.
true. And that that becomes very awakening, because then you'll be like, oh, you have a really bad day and you just go on a Godzilla rampage and suddenly you destroy Tokyo. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It might not be destroy Tokyo, but your world, suddenly there's a lot of shit going wrong, and you might have jumped 2 timelines back and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go do the work to jump back into
Mhm.
a more positive reality
Yeah.
for myself.
Yeah.
um but then that's you acknowledging your power, going, wow, this really messed up stuff is what I did. It wasn't a demon that did it to me or anything like that. I chose it,
Yeah.
or I let them take the wheel for a while, but they're using me as the car, which means I'm still the power that's doing it. And that's really the lesson of these beings. They're not incarnate. And if they could take us, if they could jack us, they would have done it a long time ago. They can't. They have to convince us to do their work for you.
Yeah.
For them, I should say. So,
Yeah.
really becoming aware of that, like, okay, everything that I think they're doing, they're convincing me to do for them. I'm actually doing it. And then you can take that power back.
That's what I love that. What did you allow in? What
Yeah.
did you allow in? So take control of your own emotions, your own feelings. Nobody gets to make you feel bad or
Right.
sad or whatever, right? It's
And
like,
that's where mindfulness is a big part.
yeah,
And that's huge. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the Western version of that.
yeah,
It's the same thing. Literally in your own program going, before I have an emotional outburst, I'm going to stop and look at it and be like, is this who I want to be right now?
yeah,
Is this what I want to do right now?
yeah,
And it's work and it's practice. It's, like a lot of people, it's very easy for them like to look at me and be like, oh, you're not fit. You don't work out. You have a bad body. And your lifestyle reflects that. It's the same emotionally. Like I might not be working out physically in a lot of things, but I do work out emotionally. And it's the same thing. It's the everyday going in and being like, I'm not going to be this guy. I'm not going to have this emotional reaction. And I'm not going to, get really upset and go on Facebook and just, have a meltdown, or whatever. Whatever it is, or blow up at my kids or my friends or my spouse or whatever. And realize that those things all have connection that affect other things that affect other things that affect other things. It's almost like the Back to the Future, you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's a really good one. Like in the Back to the Future movies, they're always worried about going to the past and affecting one thing that causes a whole new timeline. Well, guess what, folks? This time you have just as much power to do that. Every
yeah,
day you're doing things that affect timelines that create whole realities.
yep,
So you need to be just as conscious now as if you were in the Back to the Future in the past, not wanting to screw up your timeline. That's when and it's all the same thing. We're basically saying the same thing in just different ways. Sometimes
yep,
it's like, what angle people need to come at these things from. But
yeah.
and now
All
we're
right.
on
I know,
half an
we're
hour
good.
over.
I know, we're good. I just, we can just keep talking, but we'll go, we'll
We
go.
could.
I know it gets, we'll just see you guys again. Just, look, I had such a busy week last week, so I apologize. I didn't get out the reminders on this, but, Patrick and I'll talk and we'll see you guys again. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. I can't wait to see how long your beard takes to grow too. This is gonna be fun. It's like a little science project.
Sure. Yeah. A couple of weeks, you'll be surprised. You wouldn't even remember it was gone.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for
Thank you, everybody.
your
I appreciate
questions,
it.
and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you, Patrick. Bye, you guys.
Thank you, Chastity. Bye, guys.